let's talk about why Bitcoin is superior to equities. Now, again, this is not to say equities are valueless or not worth considering depending on who you are for a particular number of reasons. But I'm really trying to highlight here what I have is 8 key points as to where I see Bitcoin having an advantage over equities. And specifically, I'm really looking at, the opportunity for Bitcoin over the next 5 to 10 years. So let's talk about it. Number one, equities have trading paused if they move too much. Equities at large, stocks, right? It's an archaic system, and whenever there's too much volatility, markets just stop. And so, Bitcoin is a 24/7 market. It never stops. And so there aren't these circuit breakers to come in and, try to, play God mode and control how much the price should go up or should go down. It's truly a free market, and price discovery is possible and happening with Bitcoin in a way that's just not possible with equities. And so I think this is crucial, something to be aware of, right? A lot of times something happens over the weekend, Bitcoin gets sold and people go, oh my God, look at how weak Bitcoin looks. But it's like, oh, it's the only market open. That's why people are selling it during that time. And so I think that's a big advantage. Number two, equities can be issued, thus increasing their supply. And so, the people who run companies, right, even publicly traded companies, can vote to issue more shares, right? You can't just create more Bitcoin. There's 21 million. The distribution schedule of Bitcoin is set. It's known at all times. People know how many Bitcoin there are at every moment. You can tell and project out, how much Bitcoin there's going to be in a particular year. And this is all known information about the quantity that exists of the asset. And so the same cannot be said for shares, right? You could be diluted. People who run companies, again, could just print more, sell it on the market, and then you're left, unfortunately holding the bag in a very mischievous way, right? Because you don't, feel like you're being diluted. Hey, maybe the shares even stay the same price. But again, that can really stunt the growth of an asset at a per share price, because somebody, not you, can just print more and sell, the equities back on the market. And so, or the shares of that equity back on the market. And so number three, equities trade at a massive price to earnings ratio. So for any stock, right, you could look at price to earnings. And so you could look at, again, the price of the shares or the market cap of the company. And you can look at what the company actually earns, right? And we live in this crazy world where, when it comes to, let's say, dollars, right, a very select few people, again, can just print more dollars, put that in the market, right? Governments can be irresponsible and spend more money than they have. That money comes into the market, and when money comes into the market, where does it go? It goes to smart, generally wealthy people who have a lot of money. And when they have excess money, they want to put that money into assets. And so what are the assets they've historically put money in? Real estate, equities, maybe even gold, right? But let's just focus specifically on equities at this moment. And so you continuously have, you continue to have the price to earnings come up, right? And so you're essentially buying a more expensive company per share because that money needs to find a home. And so this is why Bitcoin is really like the perfect solution to this, is because it's, it's against the purest form of money. You don't need to have this like incredible markup, right, on things, assets that people want, ownership of a company, real estate, that increases in value beyond a level that's actually attainable for normal people to get a hold of these assets. And so you have this big disconnect in the market where things just aren't priced accurately. Now, number four, Bitcoin doesn't have corporate management risk, right? You could do all the due diligence you want, look at a company and go, you know what, I love this product, I love this team, I'm buying some of this, let's go. And you can make a great decision in that moment. And you could have management risk. You could have them make a terrible product decision and issue and create a new product on the market that nobody wants. They could steal funds, right, and go to jail for that. They could do a number of things to mismanage the entire business, thus, making bad on the investment you made, right? And you did nothing wrong, right? You're subject to corporate management risk, where individuals, humans who are flawed, like all of us, make mistakes. And history would prove that can happen, will happen. Obviously, people have a fiduciary duty to try to make sure it doesn't happen, but even with the best intentions, mistakes can and will be made. Number 5, Bitcoin's value is not derived from earnings. And so, obviously, again, you have some companies, back to kind of point number 3, where you have this disconnect about like what they earn and what the actual value of the company is because people maybe project the future value and they're trying to guess, like looking into the future and the thing gets overpriced. But Bitcoin's not reliant on its earnings, right? It doesn't have earnings. There's no income. There's no expenses and liabilities. It's a completely different asset for a number of reasons, and so that's a beautiful thing if you understand why. And a lot of people kind of can't wrap their brain around Bitcoin because of that. They think, oh, well, it doesn't have earnings, it doesn't have yield, it doesn't have value, it's a non-performing asset. And so I challenge you, if that's you, to look at it a different way, or at least attempt to do so. So Bitcoin has no central operator in charge. And this is kind of, very similar, like I said, to point number 4 with no corporate management risk. But again, there's just no central operator. There's no central decision maker that everything rides on, right? And even if you look across, the space, you look at Ethereum, different things like that, is there a central operator? Not necessarily, but there are central figures, creators that people look at, that make decisions, that everybody listens to, that have an outsized influence. And you don't want that in an asset like Bitcoin. You want something that works a particular way. We know how it works. It's going to work that way far into the future. Number 7, Bitcoin trades 24/7, unlike equities. And so this is great. Because again, the entire world, right? Whenever one part of the world's going to sleep, another part of the world's waking up, news is happening, Bitcoin's a global asset. And, theoretically, obviously, look, it's soaking in excess value from the mismanagement and bad behavior of the governments that issue currencies all over the world and the companies that mismanage those companies. And so Bitcoin is a sponge soaking in excess liquidity. So it needs to be 24/7. It's accessible all the time. This is beautiful. You want it to be open always. And that's not just open to buy and sell Bitcoin, right? That's open to send and receive the money. You're not waiting, hey, can you guys let me send my own money from my own account? I need to pay for this right now. It's your money. Do with it what you want. If you want that, that opportunity presents itself with Bitcoin, unlike equities in a drastically different way. And number 8, equities can be destroyed by government mismanagement. So Bitcoin doesn't have a government, right? There's obviously consensus that the community chooses to run the set of rules that are in motion for Bitcoin. And when there's a massive disagreement, you have a fork. And there's been different versions of Bitcoin that have forked off and failed, right? Because people don't, when I say people, I mean the market broadly doesn't agree with those rule changes. And essentially you can look at it one way as like mismanagement, trying to change the way that the thing itself functions. But there's no government in charge, right? And so again, like you could be diversified and say, I'm not gonna own one stock. I don't want to be reliant on one central operator, one team of corporate management. I'm gonna buy this stock and this stock and this stock and this stock. They're all in the same country, and the country goes under because the government mismanages the country. Well, there you go, right? You are just there's a number of other factors at play that can have damaging, if not final, consequences for your investment or where you're placing your assets. And so all that to say, if you're still sticking around, please like the video, comment if there's some other topics you guys think I should cover and get into. This is a larger series of videos where I'm covering Bitcoin versus equities, real estate, gold, bonds, and a whole lot of other content is coming on the way as well. And so thanks for sticking around. See you guys soon.